Requesting backup!
Hey there folks, it's Blue here from Blue Bears Games, and this video will be the upgrade guide for the Call for Backup March of the Machine Commander Precon. This deck is very creature-centric and relies on the backup mechanic quite a lot, hence the name of the Precon. The bonus to the backup mechanic is that it also leads us into a +1/+1 counter sub-theme as well, which isn't a bad thing, but I personally think that there are better commanders out there to build around that theme. We're not here to talk about that though. We're here for upgrades to this Precon. Since the backup ability was only in one set, there weren't a lot of changes that I found that deal with that, unfortunately. Sadly, with that being the case, I went and searched for more of a supplemental selection of cards for this deck, which is why there will only be 9 cards that I'll talk about for this guide. Now, before I get into the guide, I want to take a moment to let you know that if you're in the market for a pretty awesome deck box, playmat, or sleeves, please visit our sponsor at arcane-fortress.com and take a look at what they have. Their deck boxes are some of the best I've ever used, and you can even get an additional 5% off of your entire purchase if you use discount code BLUEBEAR at checkout. Now, onto the guide. First, let's talk about what I'd suggest to remove. I'd remove 1 Forest, Exotic Orchard, Temple of the False God, Ichor Elixir, Wood Elves, Elite Scale Guard, Inscription of Abundance, Dramaka's Command, and Path of the Pyromancer. As usual, I feel like this Precon had too many mana sources, so I took out a few of the extras that I felt were subpar. As for the other non-mana source cards I chose to remove, I feel that what I'm about to show you will be better inclusions for accomplishing the goals of the deck. I felt that removing one-time effects in favor of repeatable effects was a much more helpful way to go. Now, before I show you the cards I would suggest to swap in, I want to remind you that if you want mana fixing land upgrade suggestions, check out the upgrade guide video that I did for the Forces of the Imperium Warhammer 40k Precon. At the top right of your screen is a link that you can use to go to that video, and I have timestamped the guide in the description of that video so you can easily find it after you're done watching this one. Now let's talk about the cards I've chosen to swap in, starting with the creatures. I've chosen Doomscar Warrior because it should have been in the Precon to begin with. Not only are its stats great for the mana cost, but the ability to repeatedly dig through the top of your deck and find the best card possible to put into your hand is super useful. Again, it should have been in the deck to begin with. Mirror Shield Hoplite because again, it should have been in the deck to begin with. It's one of the very few cards that advance the backup theme, so I'm confused as to why it wasn't included to begin with. Argus Coast Eternal Soldier because it advances the backup theme in ludicrous ways. Simply target it with any backup ability and pay the cost to activate its own ability, and now every creature you control will also gain those same abilities. This also includes the counter, so keep that in mind. That can make for some really nasty creatures to attack with. Kodama of the West Tree because if you're doing it right, Kodama can make those beefed up nasty creatures both utilitarian and quite lethal. Emil the Blessed, because being able to repeatedly flicker your creatures with backup means a lot more triggers. The counters it gives is just a real nice bonus. And the last creature that I'll suggest is Eldrazi Displacer for a similar reason to Emil, repeated flicker effects. Bear in mind that the Displacer can also be used both defensively and offensively as well. Next, I want to show you one Planeswalker that should help ramp you a bit, called Jian Yanggu Wildcrafter. This Planeswalker can turn a lot of your creatures into mana dorks, and even helps advance the +1/+1 counter theme a little bit. The last thing that I want to show you are 2 cards that lead to 2 separate combos, while also being great inclusions for the deck by themselves. The first card is called the Red Terror, which combos infinitely with All Will Be One. Simply placing a counter on anything will start the loop of infinite damage and placing counters on a creature. Likewise, simply dealing damage with a red source to a permanent or player will also start the loop. Additionally, the Red Terror also does this with Shalai and Halar, which was already in the deck to start. It was nice of Wizards to include half of a combo in the box, wasn't it? Both of these combos are pretty simple, but if you need anything explained, just ask in the comment section of this video, and I'll be glad to elaborate further if needed. And that, my fellow Spellslingers, was my upgrade guide for the Call for Backup March of the Machine Commander Precon. This guide sadly was one of the shorter ones I've done because the theme it's based on didn't have many non-auto includes since there aren't many cards based around it currently. It's possible that there may be more made later if they revisit the plane, but only time will tell. Hopefully there was enough information in this guide to help take this deck to the next level for you. This precon is certainly not the best one that Wizards has given us, but it's also not the worst. I personally wouldn't play this one myself, but I've said it many times before and I'll say it again. That's what makes this game great. There are so many ways to play that there's something for everyone. So that's all for now, but I'll be doing this again next week for the 5th and final March of the Machine Commander Precon, Growing Threat. So please be sure to join me for that. Thanks for watching, and if you could, please do me the favor of giving the video a like, subscribing to the channel if you haven't done so yet, sharing this out to anyone you think would enjoy it or get something useful out of it, and visiting our sponsor at arcane-fortress.com and using discount code BLUEBEAR for an additional 5% off of your entire order if you decide to purchase anything from them. Now, unless you decide to go and watch some of my many other videos, I will see you all next week. Have a great day.